Elevate TV, advancing kingdom lifestyle.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's episode of the Gigi Report. I'm glad you're tuned in. As usual, welcome. Today is going to be a hot, interesting, amazing conversation. And I want to encourage you to share the links with your friends. Share widely. We are live on Facebook, Elevate TV Kenya, and YouTube, Elevate TV Kenya. So check us out, and if you're already on those platforms, please share with your friends. So let's get this conversation underway. Today, we are going back to the political conversations. Today, we're going to dive into a very hot political matter, the issue of trickle-down or bottom-up economics, and we are asking which way for Kenya. Today on the show, I have a guest, a friend of mine, Dr. David Kabata. Welcome to the show.
Pleasure.
Very good. Good to have you here. I know we did a Gigi report sometime, was it last year? No.
This year.
Early this year. And you know, COVID hasn't, the COVID is still, troubling us, and there are problems. So, but I'm glad to have you back on the show. So, ladies and gentlemen, before I unleash our guest to begin to answer some big questions I have here, I want to remind you that the Gigi Report is a platform for big, bold ideas, honest conversations. We tell it as it is, and we focus on a broad range of issues, subjects, social, economic, political, philosophical, theological, and we attempt to have a very honest conversation, like I said. And today we are going into a political conversation, very, very huge conversation. And so I want to give you a quick introduction of our guest, and then we're going to have him, introduce himself further and expound. I will ask him those questions. Our guest is Dr. David Kabata. Dr. Kabata is a lecturer at Kirinyaga University and an entrepreneurship and innovation consultant. Dr. Kabata earned his PhD in entrepreneurship and innovations. I was very surprised by the innovation bit from Dedan Kimathi University in 2016. So, Dr. Kabata, so that's a very interesting thing. So you are an expert in entrepreneurship, innovations. I have listened to you, some of your, YouTube comments, Facebook. We are friends on Facebook, and we keep talking. Every time we meet, we get very animated about some of these exciting things going on in the entrepreneur space. So I want you to begin by telling us about your career development, and what's going on currently. What's going on? I know last time we talked about your beginnings, but today we can just say where you are right now and what are some of the things happening in your career space.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me to the Gigi Report. I know this is a place that I have come many times, and it's a pleasure to be there, and also to have an opportunity to also talk a bit and tell Kenyans the way things are supposed to be, and also how they are.
Yes.
Now, my career has been a very funny career because I started as a banker.
Right. And
when I was in the banking industry, I happened to be a lucky young man because I got an opportunity to work with machines, especially the new technologies, the ATMs, the mobile money transfer systems. And I got a lot of interest in those technologies.
Right.
And it is that actually interest that pushed me to go and do a PhD in innovation. And that has played a very major role in my development, basically because if you look at what is happening right now, technology is playing a very major role in what we are doing. Actually, we can say that COVID-19, what it has done is that it has pushed us technologically to 2025. We are no longer in 2021.
Right.
Yeah, the things that we are doing right now are supposed to be done in 2021.
Yeah.
Like online classes, streaming, or the streamings that we people are doing. I know you started the GG report during the COVID-19. You can see how it has pushed us to 2025.
Okay.
And therefore, for me, I am I'm somebody who loves technology and who believe in it. And I also believe that it can create a lot of opportunities for our young people.
Okay.
And also for us, because it makes things done efficiently. And it also takes away those things that are not necessary from our space, so that we can start thinking about how we can be able to go to the next level.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I like that bit of technology has a way to displace certain things that perhaps we spend so much of our energy in, and free us to then focus our energy on other things. So like the streaming and all that, so online classes, that's amazing. That's amazing. So any innovations you're working on right now, maybe you can tell us about that?
Yes. I have very many innovations that I'm working on and also thinking about. I have a project that I'm doing on cotton. Actually, we have developed the first ginnery, a machine that can be able to remove seed from the cotton. We are here in Kenya. We are also trying to see whether we can be able to develop a whole value chain for the farmers, the cotton farmers, where they can grow cotton, remove the seeds, they can spin or come up with yarns.
Yeah.
And they can also be able to weave, such that they can be able to create their own garments at the local level. Because I think that is what we need to be thinking as Kenyans. Because if we do not think about utilization of the resources that we have around us, then we will have a problem. We'll always be talking about a problem of unemployment in this country.
Okay.
And also shifting to different economic models when when things do not work.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think you mentioned, and I would like you to expand a little bit on the idea that the cotton ginning, like the innovation, the technology around it, is where it is a small machine, small enough for a single farmer to have like the way coffee farmers. I know some coffee farmers in Mount Kenya who have a small power pin machine. That became possible. The old days when I was growing up, coffee. You harvested your coffee and you took it to a central factory. We used to call it factory, but it wasn't really a big factory. It was just a pulping technology, very simple, some grinders and a diesel engine, and then it just removed the husk and then the drying and all that process. So you're saying now that level of entrepreneurship is coming to the coffee farmer. So you can expand a little bit on that.
Gigi, I'll tell you, I went around this country looking at the problems that we have in the cotton industry.
Right.
And one of the challenges that we came to realize that is there, is that our farmers grow cotton, but they cannot be able to remove some of those seeds from the cotton. And when you look at how Livertex works,
okay,
Livertex starts their production process at spinning.
Okay.
So they leave all the other parts of the production process to the community.
Okay.
So you can only be able to sell cotton to Livertex.
Yes.
Cotton that has already been, some of those seeds should be removed before you sell the cotton to the Livertex.
Okay.
And that is why when you go to Livertex, you'll find that Livertex buys cotton from Uganda and Tanzania, because our farmers, even if they grow cotton, there are no ginneries. Actually, we only have 4 ginneries in Kenya, and they are also not operating. So the farmers cannot be able to grow cotton because of the ginning.
Okay.
So what we realized is that we need to take the ginnery machines to the farmers themselves.
Okay.
Let the farmers organize themselves as communities. Let them have small machines that can be able to help them to remove the seeds.
Okay.
After they remove the seeds, then Rivertex can come for their cotton, or whoever want to come for the cotton can come for the cotton. If nobody want to come for the cotton, let them have the spinning system there at the local level, and also the weaving. They can finish the value chain and come up with their own garments, and they wear them. That has been my thinking, and through that now, you have empowered that farmer. I'll tell you, Gigi, in this country we have 27 counties that can grow cotton, but they are not, because there are no ginneries.
Okay.
Yes, that is a problem that we have in your country.
All right.
Yes, and we need to solve it.
The bottom-up economics or the top-down economics, that's the question we are dealing with. We are asking ourselves which way for Kenya. And as you can tell, the way the conversation is going, there is a lot of things that are needed at the bottom. So there is this bottom-up thing. And we're going to come to the definitions and all that. But I think I like where we are starting this conversation. You know, first of all, defining the problem. So and I think before we even come to the theory, to the prescription, the disease, I think where people go wrong, and I know you are an academician, you know you can't get away. For example, as a PhD student, I mean, those of you PhD students listening to us, we're going to give you some tips here. You can't get away with a thesis which the problem statement is ish. You know, it's, you know, all you need is one guy in the panel to ask one question, and it's like, huh? You're lost.
Yes.
So you must define the problem. So, and I think that's why politicians are confusing. You know, and I'm not against politicians myself, but the political conversation is getting confused because we are talking about solutions, but we're not talking about the problem. And people are very ish about what the problem is. So expand on this thing of 27 counties can grow cotton, but they are not. Why?
Gigi, I'll tell you, I went to one of the ginneries in Makueni. Okay. And I visited it because I wanted to see what happens in a ginnery. Okay. And I could not believe it because they told us, yes, with my colleagues, yeah, that they get cotton from Peketoni. Imagine cotton coming all the way from Peketoni, yes, to Makueni County, yes, to be ginned, yes, because we do not have a ginnery in Peketoni where the cotton is grown. That is the biggest problem we have in this country. And it is a small problem, but we do not want to solve it. Yes. Now, if we do not have a ginnery in cotton growing areas such as Peketoni, yes, how do you expect farmers to grow that cotton? Okay. They will not. Yes. And therefore, we must sit down and start asking ourselves, what is the problem at the ground? Yes. At the bottom of the pyramid. Yes. The problem is that there are very many activities that these people want to do or they are doing, but they are not doable because there are no resources. The resources do not get there. Okay. So now we're going to come to the big issue. And I think you are beginning to answer one of the questions I have here, which is the question of what do you see as the greatest economic challenge facing our country, and how well are these government programs working? So that's the issue I want us to address seriously. Yeah? So first of all, and we have already begun to touch on that, the problem be dogging our country, which you are. Then we are then going to ask ourselves, what exactly is this bottom up? How do resources, maybe as we expound on the problem, maybe we can touch on, we know that the way the government works is that government collects tax into one pool. KRA is our official tax collector. So nobody is allowed to collect tax and put it in some bank account in some corner somewhere. That doesn't happen in a free republic, isn't it? So the government has the prerogative through its agency, KRA, to collect tax and all that, consolidate, revenue, public revenue into one pot, and then that money is distributed. So is that a problem? So I would like you to, describe some of the challenges associated with that, the flow of resources, and then
and how that connects with the things at the ground.
Gigi, economics is about allocation of resources.
Okay.
And the resources that we are allocating are scarce resources. They are not readily available. And therefore, we must make choices.
Okay.
Now, the conversation that we have right now is about allocation of those resources. Do we do it from the top or do we do it from the bottom?
Okay.
That is the conversation. And as I've told you, if you look at the challenges that we have in our country, actually one of the biggest problems is unemployment.
Okay.
And this unemployment is brought about by our incapability of utilizing the scarce resources, the resources that we already have at the ground.
Yes.
I've just given you an example of cotton.
Yes.
If we go to our own areas, we have horticulture in our central province.
Yes.
If you go to Odaya, you have the red soil that is used to make the melamine plates and cups.
Okay.
But all these things are there, but they are not utilized.
Okay.
And therefore the question is, how do we help Wajiko to utilize some of these resources? Remember, as you have said, money comes from treasury, and that money must be allocated.
Yes.
The question is allocation of these resources. How do we do it?
Okay.
The problem with our discussion and our conversation right now is that everybody is talking about the problem, but nobody talks about how. That is why now you see everybody is talking about trickle down and bottom up, but nobody can tell you how they are going to do it because they have not done what you talked about.
Yes.
They have not looked at the problem.
Yes.
And decided this is a problem, this is how we are going to tackle this problem.
Okay.
Unless we do that, we are going to discuss or have a conversation about these models, economic models of allocating resources for the next 5 years, and nothing is going to come out of
Absolutely.
it.
Including importing models and then imposing on our system models that we actually don't even understand. As a matter of fact, now let's define this. Let's just go blunt and for this. What is bottom up and what is trickle down, or which is which?
So, as I've said, these are just ways of allocating scarce resources to the different levels that we have in this country.
Okay.
And when you talk about the trickle down, this is just a way in which we allocate resources from the top.
Okay.
We look at the rich people, we look at the big corporations, and we look at even the big institutions, and we say that if we give these institutions an opportunity to grow by cutting taxes, giving them incentives and subsidies, they are going to employ more people, and these benefits are going to trickle down to the common mwananchi down there.
Okay.
And actually, trickle down has been working in this country. I'll give you an example of trickle down that is working in this country.
Yes.
M-Pesa is trickle down.
Okay.
Yes, and it is working. The big company, our big company here, Safaricom, is the one that has expanded and grown due to the government protection. And it has trickled down to the common mwananchi down there that right now they can be able to own an M-Pesa shop, and they can be able to do their own thing and make their own money.
Somebody who is near illiterate in this country, somehow most people, their first kind of literacy is to know how to use M-Pesa and to read SMSs or something like that.
That is trickle down. So these organizations, if they are left to do what they are supposed to do in the right environment, and also we do not have owners of the organizations being a bit selfish, such that they instead of allocating the resources that they make from their tax cuts to ways in which they can be able to grow their company in such a way that they can have an impact on the ground. Trickle-down economy works actually. In fact, saying that we do away with it and then we go to another one, then that should, it is like saying that we do away with what is working first and then we go and look for solutions outside there. So trickle-down works.
Actually, the conversation has always been, let's empower these corporations and everyone, attract even foreign direct investors, so that then they come and set up base here, including large, big, if you want to call them capitalist, capital-intensive organizations. You know, sometimes terms are the problem. Capital-intensive organizations to come and set up base here, employ our people. Isn't the employment given to the people working for this, whatever, isn't it that form of trickle down?
Actually, it is the trickle down. It's the benefit that is supposed to be able to trickle down to our people.
Exactly.
And that is why we are saying that we can be able to also give some of those incentives and also cut taxes to some of these organizations.
Yes.
They play a very major role, especially when it comes to the allocation of the resources, because they are going to employ my brothers and my sisters, and my brothers and my sisters will also pay school fees for the people down there. You can see that now the trickle down goes to the common mwananchi down there.
Yeah, because the employees pay school fees.
Yes.
School fees employs the teacher.
Yes.
Or at least keeps the local kindergarten open.
Yes.
And some other people are working there. So the whole thing seeps into the community.
Yes. But now the challenge with the trickle down is that if the owners of the capital
Yes.
do not utilize that capital in such a way that it can be able to help, it can be able to trickle down, then we have a problem.
Okay.
And if you look at what has been happening in most of these developing countries like Kenya,
Yeah.
we have a situation where some of these owners of the organization may decide that instead of investing here, they go and put their money in other areas, in other countries, tax haven and all these things. You know, now that money is not revolving in the country.
Okay.
And that is why we have some what we call question marks with the trickle down. But all in all, trickle down works.
And in any case, this country, as it is right now structured, it is a trickle down scenario. Largely.
Yes, yes.
In some sectors.
Yes.
Okay, so then what is bottom up?
Now, when you talk about bottom up, now we start asking ourselves a simple question. How then do we empower the people at the bottom?
Okay.
Now, we have a situation where maybe we say that, can we grow the economy from the bottom? We try to empower the people in the bottom, look at the resources that are at the bottom,
Okay.
and ask ourselves, how can we be able to grow these people based on their activity? In fact, Gigi, you cannot talk about bottom up without talking about the cottage industry.
Very good. Very good.
Yes.
Go into that.
Yes, because the cottage industry is about the activities that are happening at the bottom. You look at the activities that are happening in the bottom and ask yourself, what is the problem with these people?
Okay.
When you identify the problem with these people, you ask yourself, how do we grow these people from the bottom, such that when the activities that they are doing are grown, they can be able to pay more taxes, come to the tax bracket, pay taxes, and so that the top can also increase. And that is why it is called the bottom up. So the bottom up, meaning that the bottom will we will grow the activities at the bottom, and then the bottom will be able to also play a part in the top.
Okay. And then, of course, so we talk about the activities at the bottom, and then sometimes it gets very vague because nobody is defining what activities they are. But you're beginning to define them. So, for example, one of the examples you're giving here is the cotton industry.
Yes, yes.
A long-established, very efficient industry.
Yes.
We know that all our clothes. Okay. Cotton clothes are the most efficient clothes, and they are easy. They are good. They are high quality. Cotton is way much better than synthetics in terms of producing very high quality clothes and warm and all that. And we are saying we have potential to actually grow cotton, the good old cotton industry.
Yes, yes.
So you're saying that's an industry not fully exploited, very disorganized at the moment. What are the other industries at the bottom that could be examined?
I'll give you an example of a bottom-up approach in this country. Very simple. The tea sector.
Yes.
So what happens in the tea sector? The people at the bottom are the ones who pluck tea.
Yes.
After plucking tea, they take it to the factory for the value addition.
Yes.
After taking it to the factory for the value addition, the government looks for the market for the tea.
Okay.
After looking for the market for the tea, the government makes 130 billion from the bottom. That is bottom up.
Okay.
The economic activity has started from the bottom.
Exactly.
But we have to empower or enhance what is happening at the bottom.
Okay.
So the people in the tea growing area, we plays a very major role in what happens at the top there, because they are able to help the government make 130 billion basically by the activities that happen at the bottom. And that is why we say that for the bottom-up approach to work, one, the problem is not always funding.
Yes.
You know, now, and that is another challenge that we have.
I want us to come to, we'll come back to that actually, the idea of funding and how actually, if I told them, you know, if we're going to shift, to have a shift, a kind of a policy shift, where now the focus will be at the bottom, and there are many examples, many activities. Tea sector is one of them. And by the way, there has been a very big story in the tea sector. You know, some bureaucrats at the top there, you know, having too much influence, and the farmer, you know, and brokers in between, you know, both financial and actual product brokers. In fact, I think the people who buy products are good people. I think the people who are the brokers, the physical managers and influencers around there, I think that's where the issues are, because there's too much money that is lost in between there. So you're saying that there are so many ways that actually we can make those chains efficient. So tea sector has its own problems. And I know some politician who is really working very hard to solve those problems. So we're going to look at some of those examples and actually then now say what exactly is the problem. Even if we say now we're going bottom up, what exactly are the problems we're going to encounter? All right, so we're going to a break. When we come back from the break, we are going to go back to the issue of whether it's bottom up, whether it's trickle down. I think we have all these kind of models working within our, you know, economic system in this country. And now we don't know. So we still have a lot of unanswered questions. So we go for a short break, come back and revisit that issue. Don't go away. This is the GG Report.
As a pastor and as a shepherd, you must be able to gauge the growth of your congregation and understand their needs and how you can lift them up from one level of grace to another. Quality has no meaning if there's no content. Number two, not just content, but also work on packaging.
One of the greatest things, ladies and gentlemen, and our viewers, this encourager pastor, is to really consider today, what are the things you do, and are these things geared to, of course, fulfilling your purpose and your goal?
All right, welcome back to today's episode of the GG Report. We are talking about trickle down or bottom up economic models, which way for Kenya. We're asking ourselves, how are these models going to shift? I mean, do we need a policy shift? Is what we have working, and what actually do we have? It's not even clear what model we are running at the moment, and so those are the issues we are trying to explore. Before we went to the break, my brother Dr. Kabata, we have seen there are many examples of some of our economic systems which are actually bottom up systems, the tea sector and others, and we are saying, but there are problems there. So I want you to try to begin to describe some of the real problems we have. And if at all we're going to have a policy shift of whatever nature, how those problems are going to be solved.
I think for me the biggest problem is how the resources are supposed to get to the bottom.
Okay.
If we are going to talk about bottom-up approach.
Okay.
Basically because in this country we have very many platforms.
Right.
For taking the resources down there.
Yes.
And one of them is CDF. That's a bottom-up approach platform
Yes.
for taking the resources to the bottom. We have devolution, a platform for taking the resources to the bottom. We have the AGPO, take the resources to the bottom.
To the youth and women?
Yes, because we wanted them to be active in the economic system
Okay.
of our country.
Yes.
But now the question I think that we need to be asking and also to try and answer in this country is that if we are talking about bottom up, how do these resources get to those people at the bottom? Because we have platforms.
Yes.
And it means then if we want to change the economic model, then it means that they have not been doing what they are supposed to do, or they have not been getting the resources to the bottom. Because as I have said, the problem with the bottom is that we have resources that are not utilized.
Okay, but now I think, now the people who are promoting bottom up are saying the people at the bottom need wheelbarrows. Is that part of is that what is missing at the bottom? The wheelbarrows, because that has become synonymous with the bottom up.
Well, that is their opinion, but for me, I think the problem at the bottom is bigger than wheelbarrows.
Okay.
And
I mean, not to disparage the wheelbarrow metaphor.
Yes.
I guess it's a metaphor, it's a metaphoric way of saying the guy who pushes the wheelbarrow in a construction site, that's the guy at the bottom.
Yeah, the problem is bigger than that, because as I've told you, the problem at the bottom is not just financial. We have the market problem. I'll give you an example. Go to Kirinyaga County.
Yes.
These people do horticulture.
Yes.
But where do they sell their horticulture? All of them are crammed in Kagio market, selling their tomatoes there.
Yes.
That's a problem of the market. It is not a problem of finances.
Yes.
And therefore, we must sit down and ask ourselves, what is the problem with the people at the bottom?
Okay.
Is it infrastructure? Because even the infrastructure can be a problem.
Absolutely.
Go to Nyandarua. These people grow potatoes.
Yeah, the Irish potatoes. I like calling them Irish potatoes because that's their origin.
Yes, there are no roads. The roads are not there. The infrastructures are not there to take their produce to the market. That is a bottom up that is not working because of lack of infrastructure. It is not anything else.
Okay.
And therefore, we must sit down and ask ourselves, what is the problem with the people at the bottom? Is it infrastructural? Is it market? Is it financial? Where do we start? Unless we do that, Gigi, we are going to talk about this problem until the cows come back.
And prescribed solutions. You know, one of the, I hosted a guest here and we were talking about BBI. I mean, sorry to bring it back, but the argument, you know, I asked this guy, is BBI, for example, a solution without a problem? You know, so you've created a solution, very nice idea, but what exactly is the problem? And so you could also have the same scenario here. So we have this grand idea, ideological, argument about, Wanjiko needs to be empowered. So the focus is Wanjiko, so it's a bottom-up focus. But if we're not very clear what the problem with Wanjiko is, then we might as well abandon some of the programs that are ongoing. For example, you've mentioned infrastructure. Why is it a bad idea to develop infrastructure? And is infrastructure development at the county level, for example, those roads you're talking about, isn't that a bottom up?
You know, you cannot help Wanjiko without enablers.
Yes.
And in the infrastructures are what we call enablers.
Okay.
Because you see, for an activity, an economic activity to take place,
yes,
there must be the minimum that is needed there.
Yes.
We need roads that
yes.
can be able to transport goods and services to wherever they are supposed to go.
Yes.
You need electricity to process the products there if you want to decentralize the production processes so that Wanjiko can be able to do whatever he is supposed to do at the base or at the bottom.
Yes.
So you need what we call the enablers. And in fact, the work of the government is not to create employment for anybody.
Yes.
The work of the government is to create eneblers for people to create employment.
No, you know you will get in a lot of trouble. You just made a political statement that the work of government is not to create employment. But as far as I can tell, Kenyan psyche, you know, the Kenyan psyche is the government is responsible for ensuring I get a job. And if I don't get a job, it is the government to blame, and specifically, not just the government, specifically, the guy who resides in that house on the hill, here in Nairobi, that's the guy to blame if I go hungry and I don't get a job. And now you're saying it's not the case.
Gigi, the government that we are in right now has only employed 700,000 people. The public servants.
Yeah, public servants are 700,000. Actually.
Right now, you are saying 700,000 is a lot of people.
Plus 300,000 teachers.
So if you want the government to increase the number of the people that it has employed, then tell us that the government's work is to employ people. The work of the government is to make it possible for us to create value. And how do we create value? We create value by good infrastructural programs that are brought by the government. So anybody who has a problem of the electricity should be concerned that the government is not working, because he cannot create value because he does not have the infrastructure called electricity.
Okay.
Anybody who has a problem with roads, he should have a problem with the government, because the government has not created an infrastructure that should help him to create value. That is how economic systems are set in this world. So when I hear people talk about the government, employment, creating employment, I wonder, how do you expect the government to do that? The government is an enabler for us to do that.
Actually, by the way, you know, I was going to ask you this question later, but I think I must bring it here because you've mentioned infrastructure. One of the conversations that I see, and I see it in social media, people, for example, criticizing some of the big infrastructure investment that this country has done, the SGR, that for some people, it's one thing that should not have happened. And then, of course, the big elephant in the house right now is the express highway. So maybe we shouldn't be building an expressway 27 kilometers from Mlolongo to James Gishoro, sinking in 6.62 billion. So maybe the bottom up is the thing. All that money should be taken to Wanjiko. So I guess that's the argument.
I think the problem that we have in this country is that, you know, we don't want to create value. We do not have ideas of creating value.
Okay.
And that is why we critique everything, actually.
Yes.
I remember even when the Thika superhighway was also being...
money should have been taken to Wanjiko, you know, not build superhighway, isn't it?
But you can see how the Wanjiko has benefited from the superhighway, especially when it comes to the small businesses that they have been able to come up with, and also their location, where they are living, and also accessibility of what they are doing. So infrastructure is very important when it comes to the growth of a country.
Okay.
But we are not saying that we put all the money to the infrastructure and we forget Wanjiko. Wanjiko is also supposed to get something.
Yes.
But now the question is, how is he going to get that something? Because we want to give Wanjiko himself or herself. And after devolution, and also the CDF, and also the AGPO are all platforms to take money to the bottom.
And by the way, was the word fund approved, by the way? Do we have the word development fund? Oh, it never took off.
I think that one was also coming with the BBI. And you see now that is another platform of taking the money to the Wanjiko.
Okay.
I think the question that Gigi we should be asking ourselves in this country is, does Wanjiko get the money? Because we have so many platforms to take to Wanjiko, money to Wanjiko. But Wanjiko still has problems, because if you listen to the proponents of the bottom up, they are saying, we are going to develop a kitty for the SMEs, for the cottage industry. That is another platform that they are talking about.
Okay.
Now the question is, you are going to put 100 million in every constituency as a kitty for the cottage industry, or the activities at the bottom.
Yes.
How are you going to identify those activities?
Okay.
And how are you going to get these people get the money? The people are those people going to get the money? Because that is the biggest elephant in the room. Or
are they going to queue outside the new bottom-up office? Queue, and everybody is handed a check, or what is going to happen?
Yes, and when they get the money, what next?
Okay.
Because you see, we have said the problem at the bottom is not just financing.
Yes.
The problem at the bottom may also be marketing, that they have produced whatever they are supposed to produce, but there is no market for their produce. So what next? After you have given them the funds, after you have given the money, what next? Are you also going to help them to open up the international market or the African market for their produce? Because if you do not do that, then Wajiko will still have a problem of a production of goods and services, but it does not know where to sell them.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love what you're saying, Dr. Kabata. And I think to summarize, in terms of some of the things you're describing, because you see, like we said at the beginning, until we are very clear what problem we are dealing with, then we cannot provide or prescribe that solution. So you're saying the people at the bottom, what they need is a list of enablers. Certain things needs to be in place. So infrastructure, in terms of if you're a farmer and you're growing things in your farm, you need to get them to the market. So there has to be that infrastructure, and then the market. So very, very important. And you're an entrepreneur. I mean, I guess that's your specialty. So the market that has to be there, whether it's the local market. Like we are describing the famous Kagio market, the tomato, capital of Kenya, where you get tomatoes. 12 months a year, 365 days, there's tomato in Kagio. So we are saying that market, and maybe should we be selling in Kagio or in all those markets? By the way, now that you've been traveling around, you remember the CDF programs began to do markets in every, I think, sub-constituency. Market. I saw them built with some round half-moon roofs. Is that working? What has been your observation?
I think we need to go beyond markets.
Yes.
Because you see now, when everybody is selling bananas in the market, then the prices the farmer cannot benefit from that because of the high competition, the stiff competition in that selling market.
Yes.
We need to ask ourselves, can Wajiko sell anything else except bananas?
Yes.
Can he be able to make banana juice? Can he be able to make a banana product such that whatever is taken in that market is what cannot be processed, not what can be processed to something else, and also so that Wajiko can be able to make money.
All right.
Let me give you a very good example of cotton. You see, a kilo of cotton, raw cotton with seeds, goes for 42 shillings. Basically because the seed has not been removed. When the factory removes the seed, they sell a kilo of cotton at 170 shillings per kg.
So just that value addition, 42 to 174.
42 to 170 plus the seeds, because they are also going to sell the seeds to the companies that make animal feeds.
Yes.
So you can see the problem with a very small problem of value creation.
Yes.
So Wajiko cannot be selling bananas only.
Yes.
And you expect Wajiko to make money.
Right.
The reason as to why me as a tea farmer, although there is a problem, I'm making some good money in tea. It's because I'm not just selling the tea leaves. I'm selling tea that is processed from my local area, the factory at my local area.
Yes.
So if I decided to sell just tea leaves, I would not make any money. So Wajiko we must not just go to the market, build markets. We should go further and also try to ask ourselves, in this market that we have built for Wajiko, can we also have a processing area for the goods and services that they are producing?
Yes.
And can we also go further and get other markets outside our local areas?
Absolutely. And by the way, while we are talking about markets, there has been a lot of, talk about Makueni as like one of the rising stars in the devolution, because that's another, you could say devolution itself. I think you mentioned that devolution itself is a form of bottom up sort of strategy, or rather, yes, devolution itself at the ideological essence of devolution is take resources to the people at the bottom. I guess that's what devolution is about. Stop, take decision making for resources and allocation of resources to the people at the ground. That's what devolution is. Would you cite examples? Do you think that there are examples of people who have really implemented those sort of things effectively? Given your experience?
Actually, if you look at the reason behind us coming up with the devolution, is because we realized that there were very many resources that were underutilized at the bottom, and with the centralized decision making,
yes,
it was difficult for us to get to the bottom.
All
and
right.
therefore we decided to devolve some of the funds to the counties where Wajiko lives,
yes,
and also the wards. Right now we are talking about the wards, so that Wajiko can make decisions down there on what he wants to produce,
yes,
how he is going to produce it, and when you want to produce it. And that is why in devolution we have something that we call public participation.
Absolutely.
That Wajiko must participate in decision making of what is happening in that county, or what is going to be produced, or what is going to happen with the money.
Yes.
So if you look at Makueni, that is one of the counties that have understood the real essence of devolution. That you look at the problems, the activities that people are doing at the bottom.
Okay.
And the activity is mangoes. They are growing mangoes. So the question is, how do we process these mangoes? We help them to grow the mangoes.
Yes.
We process the mangoes.
Yes.
We sell juice to them first.
Yes.
And then we get outside market.
Absolutely.
That is how devolution was supposed to work.
Yes.
Activities down there. Get the resources that are idle at the base.
Okay.
Try to see whether you can be able to utilize them.
So, but maybe Makueni should have given every family a wheelbarrow. Or what do you think? I mean, nothing. I mean, it's not caricature, and I really don't want anybody, watching this program to think that I am disparaging the model or the language. But I think it's the whole idea of, until an idea is really properly tested. So it's one thing to just talk about an idea. So in other words, what you're describing is, if we take decision making, participation, allocation of resources, and all the things that are related to the economic empowerment of the people at the bottom, if we take that conversation there and have the conversation at that local level, then we can actually stimulate economic development. That's what you're saying in short.
Yes. And we look at the activities that they are doing there.
Okay.
Because you are not going to go and introduce other things for those people.
Yes.
All what you need to do is to look at what they are doing.
All right.
The people in Kirinyaga County are doing horticulture. You cannot go and tell them to start other things. So you look at the horticulture.
Right.
Ask them, the tomatoes that they are growing there, what is their problem with the tomatoes?
Yes.
Why is it that they are not producing tomato paste and selling tomato paste in the county first?
Yes.
Kirinyaga County first.
Kirinyaga tomato juice, tomato ketchup.
Yes.
Not ketchup, but Kirinyaga up.
Yes.
Yes.
They start there.
Exactly.
So we must understand the problems at the bottom.
Yes.
We must understand the activities that they are doing there.
Yes.
We must ask ourselves how we can be able to expand what they are doing down there. And when we are able to do those things, then what is going to happen is that we are going to bring more people in a tax bracket, because there are activities going there and people are employed. And we are going to also increase the top, or the revenue at the top, and the bottom works. The bottom up works.
Now, there's another thing I would like you to comment on. And this is I'm just thinking this up. Recently, there was a hue and cry when taxes went up and the price of fuel went up and all that. And the conversation, and it hasn't died off, because there's this huge conversation. Cost of living is going up because taxes are going up. And it is Wanjiku who is paying those taxes. So, do you think there is a danger of the bottom up and let's tax the people at the bottom and stuff like that, blowing up on blowing back on the politicians? Because the politicians who are pushing up the bottom down, whatever, once they now have to tax the people there, then those people are going to rebel and say, no. You told us our things are going to improve, but you didn't mention tax.
You see, one of the questions that we need to ask ourselves is, why are we increasing the taxes?
Yes.
We are increasing the taxes because we have very little production in this country. We are not producing in this country. And there are reasons behind that. One is the COVID-19. You see, what COVID-19 did is that it disrupted the production process of most of our organizations, especially the ones that, like tourism, which gives us about 140 billion. Today, we cannot even get more than 50 billion from it. You see, there is a very huge gap there.
Yes.
And therefore, maybe because of lack of the other ways of getting money, the government decided to increase some of these taxes so that it can still continue doing what it is supposed to do.
Okay.
But now the question is, if you look at the number of the people who pay taxes in this country, they are the minority. Majority do not pay taxes because the activities that they are doing are not captured in a tax bracket.
They are informal. They are in the informal sector.
They are in the informal sector, and therefore the people who pay taxes actually are the middle class or the working class mostly.
People with a salary like you.
Yes,
if you have one.
And Gigi, let me shock you. These are the people who we do not want to include in any model.
So maybe then is that the reason why there is also another conversation of a bottom up, top down, okay, so those are the two competing ideas, but there's also mid-row out.
Yes.
Is that what the mid-row out is about?
The mid-row out is about helping these people. And let me shock you.
These taxpayers.
Yes, the people who have the capability of even starting those businesses that we talk about are the middle class and the working class.
The people in the mid-row.
Yes, actually, world statistics shows that the average age of starting a business is 45 years. It is not the 20s and whatever we talk about.
You are shocking everyone watching this show, because we have been saying it is the young people. We must teach them entrepreneurship, empower them, give them the money. But now you are saying it's people at the age of 45 who are supposed to be starting business. Or that's what you discovered?
No, that is a global statistic. The average age of starting this business in this world is 45 years. And I'll tell you why.
Yes.
People at the age of 45, they have finances.
Yes.
They have resources. They have networks.
Yes.
They have experience.
Yes.
So a youth who does not have networks, who do not have the experience of what he is going to be doing,
yes, and
has to get resources or finances from the government or the well-wishers. How are they capable of starting a business better than a person who already have what it takes to start a business?
Absolutely.
And those people are the ones we do not include in any model.
And by the way, they are excluded because a youth is classified as up to 35.
Yes.
So I know you are out.
Yes.
I am out and out.
Yes.
I'm way above 45.
Yes.
I mean 35, obviously. I almost twice that. Anyway, so you're saying that even that policy itself that defines youth itself is not in tandem with the reality.
It is not in tandem with the reality. In fact, myself, I would even push further and say, we need these people who are working to be given leaves, a 1 year paid leave, to go and try something. If they fail, they come back to work so that they can be able to see whether we can.
You are raising a storm here.
So that we can see whether they can also be able to help play part in solving the problem of unemployment in this country.
Okay.
Gigi, I'll give you an example of yourself and your show. You are not a youth.
Yes.
But you have been able to come up with a show yourself using the networks, the experience, and the resources that you have.
Yes, and of course, I have created some form of employment because the guys who are running the cameras here are obviously, part of the whole Gigi report.
And why are you not included in the models that they are talking about?
No, me, I'm not a youth. So I guess then we need. So I think in summary, and we have to summarize. We have only 2 minutes to summarize the whole conversation. So the big question is it bottom up? Is it top down? Or is it mid-row out? And I hope your viewers, you have understood the mid-row out is these guys, all of you who are employed, you are in that mid-row. If you have a salary, you are in the mid-row. So which way for Kenya, therefore, if we were to conclude?
We need to go for a hybrid. We need to bring all these models together and make sure that whatever is supposed to go to the bottom goes to the bottom.
Okay.
The resources go
and
to
it
the
arrives.
bottom. Yeah, and it arrives there, and it gets the right people. We need trickle down to work. If we can be able to attract more
foreign direct investment.
For FDIs,
yes.
and also enable our organizations to grow as big as possible so that they can employ more people. We need to think about that. And lastly, we need to think about the middle class. The middle class has a part to play in job creation in this country. We need to come up with the ways in which we can be able to give them an opportunity to go and try what they have learned from their experience and their network, so that they can also be able to be part and parcel of the systems of growing the economy. And that one, I propose that they should be given an opportunity to go and try. When they fail, they go back to their jobs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I cannot summarize it in any other way. That is the issue. That is the issue. Whether you go for bottom up, top down, trickle down, whatever, bottom out, whatever the model is, my guess here says, I guess a hybrid, a combination of all those. That's all we had for you today. We got to bring this to a close. God bless you so much for watching. I believe you have learned something. This is your host, Godfrey Gichuki, and we'll see you another day, same place, same time, same show. God bless you, and bye-bye for now.